So after I've recorded the video, I just noticed I forgot to add something, so I will just add this to the start of the video. This character is basically pretty good for mapping, but you can also just do Shaper, you can do Guardians, Elder Slayers, Elder or Shaper with it, but I wouldn't recommend it to use it as an bosser. I did try Maven, I did it, I died 4 times. I did record it, and the recording was, let's just say the recording and gaming on a laptop is not a great idea. But if you want to have a good mapper or a fun mapper where you can just be like, okay, shoot out, right click, flame dash, right click, flame dash, this is a pretty good build for you. But if you want to have a bosser or mainly focus on bossing, you should do something else. And this build can do many different contents. Like Legion is something that I really have fun with it, but I wouldn't recommend to do some stuff where mobs spawn directly next to you, like Delirium or Ritual, which Delirium works, but Ritual is a pain in the ass, to be honest. This just as some information, and now will the original video start. Have fun. Hello and welcome to this video, which is just a random build showcase, or not really a showcase, but a discussion about my Flamewall Spellslinger, because I had the idea to build this and there weren't really that many videos, so I thought why not just make one myself. But it is more a random video, so don't expect many more Path of Exile videos or something like this. And I don't really explain much. It's more like, hey, this is how I approach the build idea and how you can maybe approach the build and what you can maybe make better or what you shouldn't do. So first of all, this video will have chapters, so if you want to skip some stuff or you want to go back to something, you can always do that. And of course there will be also some path of buildings in the description, which I'm coming back. And the chapters will be like the path of building a little bit, some channel information about Flamewall, for those that don't know yet, the item section, and the path of building configuration explained. So first of all, there will be 3 different path of buildings in the description. 2 of them are snapshots from my character, which is like level 65 and 87, but be aware that those snapshots are dual wielding wands, and in my final version I'm running my passive tree with Aegis Aurora and some block chance, so I don't get snapshotted easily, or not too many porcupines will kill me, something like that. So the final version is a little bit tanky, not too tanky though, so don't expect that you will never die in maps, but I have now like 3 days playtime and I have like something 250 deaths? 300 deaths meanwhile, okay, so it's mediocre. And also in the final version there will be some notes where you can always read what you really need to start this build, or what would be recommended, what would be good. And yeah, like I said, I will come back later onto the configuration later on. So first of all, let's get started with Flamewall. So Flamewall is a skill that you can get at Act 1 when you reach Marvel's May, but you want to use it later on after Act 4, you can equip Diala's Malefaction. And what it does basically is it has 2 parts. The first part is some Burning Crown AoE damage, as you can see right here. Everything that stands in this burning wall gets some fire damage over time. And the second part is that every projectile that hits through this wall will apply a debuff, which is some burning damage. The debuff is not an ailment, it's a secondary effect. So you can also hit ailment immune enemies with it, which doesn't mean that you can play it in the Hall of Grandmasters. It sucks there, I already tried. But what it means is basically we can scale this with some stuff like damage over time. Oh, and there are two things about Flamewall. The main part is that this one scales also with AoE, while the secondary debuff doesn't. So if you have some AoE multiplier, it would apply to this, but not to the projectile debuff. So that's basically how Flamewall works. So the first one is just AoE, damage over time, burning damage, and so on. And the second part is about the debuff that you can apply with projectiles that pass through the flame wall. So when we are playing, it basically looks like this. When we have Spellslinger active right now, we just cast our main skill. This will trigger flame wall, and everything that passes through this projectile that goes through the flame wall will apply that secondary debuff. If you check the DPS at the last line, it says 529,000 per second. This is the first damage that I talked about. This is the burning wall itself, and then 2 lines above it says 1.76 million fire damage per second, which is from the secondary debuff. How do we reach this damage amount? Basically, we scale the damage level of our flame wall up to a lot, to level 34, and we reach this through the items and the gem section. And first of all, I'm starting with the items, and then I'm coming back to the gems. So first of all, best in slot for us is a wand that gives +1 to all fire spells, and also has some fire damage over time multiplier and or increased damage over time multiplier, and fire damage or burning damage also works. This wand is practically for me best in slot, even though it has adds some lightning damage to spells and attacks, and we would another wand base that has some other stuff, maybe like the gain power charge, offense charge every 6 seconds, something like that. The helmet is really important. We need any helmet that has increased mana reservation efficiency of skill supported by Spellslinger, as without this helmet our Spellslinger would reserve a lot of mana. I was lucky to get a Crown of the Inward Eye with that. Of course, other rare or unique helmets also do work, and if you have a rare helmet, you can also work with the Eldritch Explicits. Then another item which is pretty good, which is replica dragonfang flight, which was introduced in this league, and we want a +3 to level of all flame wall gems. And basically what it does is it gives us some attributes which we require, it gives us some elemental resistances, and some increased reservation efficiency. Keep in mind, this is general reservation efficiency, this is not mana reservation. I will come back to that later on. And items and gems have reduced attribute requirements, which we also need because we are short on dexterity and strength, so without this item we couldn't equip most of our stuff. So back to reserving everything. And of course, like I said earlier, we are using Aegis Aurora. Basically we are using some different stuff. So we have like 11k armor, so when we get hit and we block that, we get 200 energy shield back, which is why we are using Glancing Blow and Aegis Aurora. So when we hit porcupines, they have the chance to kill us when the mods are nasty, but without the shield we would instantly die even when they are not nasty. So with the shield, if they don't have nasty mods, we will survive, most likely. Polaric Devastation, best in slot. When we ignite an enemy, we cover them in ash, so they take increased burning damage or fire damage. We'll come back to that later on. The other Malefaction, we need at least 2 red sockets, and the more green sockets is half the better. So in this case I was lucky that I got this one early in the league for like 3 divine orbs. And it was like 2 red and 4 green, which is perfect for me. Now if you would buy something like that, you would have to pay 7 to 8 divines. But the more, like I said, at least 2 red sockets for the flame wall and then power, which I will come back later on again. And the more green sockets, the better. Then we are using any rare ring from the Warlord, I think it is, that has flammability on hit. And you can also use an essence to craft the damage over time multiplier mod, like here. I bought this thing for 2 divines. So yeah, and I crafted non-channeling skills have -7 total mana cost because it had an open suffix and I was able to add this. Pretty good. For the glows we need to make sure that they are rare, so we can add the 2 Eldritch Implicits fire exposure on hit and fire damage over time. Those mods are not really that, yeah. The one, as you can see, the one has lesser and the one is cant, which is pretty good. And I just bought I had the space with chance to spell suppression and I used an essence with life crafting to get it. So yeah, which resulted in this pretty good close with like a lot of life, lightning resistance and chaos resistance. I got lucky with that, I have to be honest. Then any rare belt that has some resistance and you can craft some life on it. Anything that is pretty good for your defenses works. And some movement resistance boot, of course, with some life added on it. Those are the items, and the implicits for the boost don't matter. In this case I just went with increased cooldown recovery rate and movement speed, but I was just too lazy to change the cooldown recovery rate, so I stick with it. Those are the items. Now to the gem. We have of course Flame Dash. I linked it to a life tab because I'm already using a lot of mana for my Flame Wall and for my Kinetic Blast, so if I cast Kinetic Blast and Flame Wall a few times I'm already run out of mana. So I want to save it and I'm just using like life tab Flame Dash, and we have some life regeneration, therefore we can just handle it. Of course Portal, but since I'm running out of gem sockets I have to use it normally, not as a cast on Death Thing. And now to the important part. We are running low light. It doesn't look like this because I'm a little bit over 1600. But I have this one mastery that means, hey, we count as low life while we are at 55% or lower. So we can run low life, and we achieve this through the arrogance linked to a Herald of Ash. But this alone doesn't reserve 45% of our life. As you can see right here, like I said earlier with replica dragonfang, we reserve less. So I had to drop in a clarity, which also has a little bit with mana regeneration, and since it is linked to a life tab, or arrogance, sorry, it reserves like 100 life. This allows us to run low life basically. Instead of clarity you can also use vitality. Just make sure that you are on low life, and if you need to adjust the gem level sometimes. So in the shield we are using Malevolence, Determination and Enlighten. And Determination and Malevolence are like 50% reservation mana auras. So of course we have to annoy Sovereignty on our attribute, but we also have to use cluster jewels, the small cluster jewels that give us some mana reservation efficiency, and also have Uncompromising for Determination to have less or increased mana reservation efficiency, and Mortifying Aspect, so Malevolence has increased reservation efficiency. Those two clusters are important, so we can run Determination and Malevolence. And we are also using Influence, the small cluster right here, so we get some more effect out of it, but also some increased mana reservation efficiency. So basically this is the shield and the gem links. And for our body armor and the Diala's Malefiction, we are using a Radiant Elemental Focus, which gives us a +1 to level of all supported skill gems, which is pretty good for our Flame Wall, because we basically doubled it from the more elemental damage, but also from the +1 level. We are using an anomalous Flame Wall, but you can also just use the normal one. This one is... The anomalous version has reduced skill effect duration, but it gives us some fire damage over time multiplier, which is like 100k more damage, but every damage matters. Then we are using Awakened Burning damage, which is giving us a +1 also, and has some damage over time multiplier for the burning damage basically. Then we have some Empower, which is socketed in the red socket, so we get a +5 instead of a +3 only, or yeah, +3. Awakened Swift Affliction for some damage over time multiplier, and also it says 25% less duration of supported skills and damaging ailments they inflict. So the secondary debuff lasts a little bit less, but it's still like something like 2 seconds. And of course Spellslinger, this one is not qualified yet, but if we quality it we have like some more damage, because it also gives some increased spell damage. Yeah. Then of course, to trigger the secondary debuff of Flamewall, we have to use some projectile skills. For clear, I'm using Kinetic Blast, Combustion, Greater Mill Projectiles, and Returning Projectiles. The Anomalous version makes it that when I shoot a projectile, I will just go right here, it will basically have a chance to return again, as you can see right here. It helps a little bit with clear, you can just go with the normal one, or with the secondary thing that I go, which is Frenzy. Linked to Combustion, Diverge and Returning Projectiles, which makes it that the projectile pierces the first target, and then will return. And here I use Greater Volley support instead of GMP. You can also use Greater Mill Projectiles if you prefer it, but for me I use Greater Volley because I have a better straight line to hit an enemy, so if they are going slightly below it to the left or right, I have a chance to hit them more better. So basically this is the item section and the gem section. Let's get to the, oh wait, do I have anything in the passive tree? I'm using some tattoos for mana regeneration, as you can see right here. I have some chaos resistance. The clusters is just some fire damage cluster, as you can see right here. I have here a rare jewel that gives some damage over time and fire damage over time multiplier. Watch as I am using the one for Maryland's with damage over type multiplier. And here the Transcendent Mind for some 18% to damage over type multiplier. And as I mentioned earlier, the cluster here, the small ones, for the reservation efficiency. Everything else is not really important. When you start the build, just go straight to the left line for Mastermind of Discord first, then you go Heart of Destruction, and then you can just decide what you want to take. For me, I take Bastion of Flames, so I can survive elemental damage a little bit better. And Shaper of Winter, so all of our shield enemies for at least 10%, 15%. So they are slower, which makes mapping a little bit more easier. If you want to go more bossing like, you can just of course go Shaper of Storms, so they take at least 15% more damage. Yeah, that's basically the passive tree, the items and the gem section. Let's go to the path of building. So the configuration explained, we are using frenzy charges, of course. Like I said, for the bossing we can use frenzy. So we are always at like three frenzy charges. If you are mapping, you can just take them basically away. We are always on low life due to the arrogance from Herald of Ash and our clarity. And we have convergence for bossing. You can take this away, then we are 2.7 million dot DPS. The enemy is always burning, ignited, and he is chilled for at least 50%, I should make, basically. And he is exposed to fire due to our clothes implicits. I can show them right here again. And back to path of building. I need to switch between the screens, I'm sorry. Recording with a laptop is not good. Enemy is covered in ash. This is now due to our Polaric Devastation, which is in our left ring slot, which is important, not the right. It needs to be on the left. And the projectile travels through a flame wall, which doesn't change anything to the secondary debuff, but I still just have it checked. And of course, is the enemy a boss, Guardian, Pinnacle? Yes, I go Guardian, Pinnacle, which is Shaper, Elder, and so on. Basically, this is the configuration. Like I said, there will be some notes, and this is it. There will be... oh, wait, there is not much basically to say. I think I will just put this to the beginning of the video. So yeah, I hope you did enjoy this. Not basically enjoy this, but I hope this was for some information how you can approach the Flamewall Spellslinger. It is a pretty good map and so on. So yeah, have fun and see you next time. Or not, I just said you shouldn't subscribe to me because I just make random videos. Okay, never mind. Bye.